Ah, yes, the budding question of the century. Do you need to go to film school to have a successful career in film and or video? In short, absolutely not. I still have $35,000 worth of crippling anxiety burning a hole in my pocket that I think about every single day. But do not let that scare you. Today I'm going to be talking about a lot of cons and some pros on why or not you should go to film school. So stick with me. We're going to touch on a lot of stuff. I'm going to do a lot of talking, and hopefully I can save you some money or just confirm that your parents are taking care of you and you can afford it. No, in all seriousness, there are a lot of pros and cons. I'm going to try and touch on some that are relevant to my experience at film school, and hopefully you learn a little bit of something. But before we get into it, please do me a favor. As always, hit that thumbs up button, leave a comment at the end of the video, and tell me your thoughts. Tell me why I'm wrong, tell me why I'm right. And finally, hit that subscribe button. I post every Thursday and as much more as possible. So without further ado, let's roll that intro. Alright, so first things first, we're going to touch on the cons because when I wrote this list, they were the first ones that came to mind. So the first con on our list today is money. Film school is expensive. There's no way around it. I went to one of the cheapest film schools in Toronto and I still managed to rack up an enormous amount of debt. Now, mind you, I did have to live on my own. I wasn't able to work full-time throughout school, although I did work part-time. I still did add up a lot of debt, and it's not something fun. So number one on the con list is money. Even if you're going to one of the cheaper schools, not only are you going to have less facilities, less resources, you're still going to be paying a lot of money. So something to keep in mind, because traditionally a film major doesn't make a lot of money out of school unless you're really grinding. So definitely something to keep in the back of your mind, or else that crippling anxiety debt will be sitting there rent free. I cannot even fathom going to one of the more expensive schools. I remember our final project in my third year of film school was a $3,000 budget short film, and I remember one of the higher end schools in the city, their budget was $40,000, and it's all stuff that the members of the film, aka students, had to pitch towards. So crazy money going to film school right off the rip. That is number one. All right, so number two on the con list is filmmaking can be self-taught. Now, not a lot of people know about this, but I am going to give you a very useful hint on how to teach yourself. So you go to this little website called YouTube and you search for Visual Boulevard in the search engine, and then you spend all your hours raking up my watch time so I can pay off that $35,000 worth of debt. Woo! Moving on. No, in all seriousness, there are a lot of free resources online or much cheaper options than going to film school. Honestly, about 95% of the stuff that I learned and teach you today, I taught myself by learning from other videos and other resources online. So, rule of thumb, maybe at least give it a year and a half of trying to teach yourself, and then if you think film school is the right option for you, then maybe consider pursuing it. Okay, number three. Having a film degree does not guarantee employment out of film school. Now, I would say more than any other job, your degree does not mean diddly squat. It's all about the portfolio and the work you have to show for yourself. I can say with 100% confidence that any opportunity or job I've received in my life has been entirely due to my portfolio or the amount of work I have to show that I've actually done. It has nothing to do with my resume saying film degree diploma or film and broadcasting. I don't think there's one time that I can actually remember where an employer or a potential client has wanted to see that. So if you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, obviously go to school. You need those things. But if you know you have the raw talent and the drive and dedication to teach yourself to get to where you want to be, then you will have the portfolio to show clients and get those Benjamins, baby, back with the Benjamins every single week, and I'm not going to stop until you get it through your heads. So please go online, check out the resources, and try and do it on your own. I promise you it will feel a lot better that way. All right, and finally, number 4 on the con list today, unless you're at one of the higher end schools, there is no guarantee that your teachers are going to be up to date with industry standards. A lot of these teachers, and no offense to them, are washed. And hey, one day I'm going to be washed too. That's just how it goes. It's just like a laundry cycle. You put it in there, it has a few runs around, and then it is washed. No, in all seriousness though, there are a lot of teachers who just get tired of the constant grind and having to continuously pursue this career, so they find something a little more stable, which is totally understandable, and they start teaching at these schools here or there. And honestly, there's no guarantee that they're going to be up to date with standard practices in the industry. So that is number 4 on the cons list. Now, I know I made it sound like the answer to this question was a resounding no, and it is, but for the fact of this video, I'm going to be playing devil's advocate, and I'm going to touch on a few things that actually are beneficial from going to film school. So we are going to talk about 4 pros today as well. And number 1 on the list is access to quality equipment. Now, although you do pay a lot of money to get into film school, once you are in film school, they usually have top of the line equipment or semi top of the line equipment that you can book out at your convenience, which is amazing. And if you really take the initiative and book out those higher end pieces of equipment, you're going to make a lot of stuff that's going to be really great for your portfolio, because once you're out of school, you might not have access to those $10,000 cameras that are going to make your work stand out from everyone else. So rule of thumb, I would say, if possible, I know the workload you have is going to be hard already, but in your free time, rent out those pieces of equipment and go and shoot stuff that you're going to want to shoot in the real world. So when you get out of film school, you actually have something to show potential employers or potential clients, and they are up with industry standards. Now, other than number 1, number 2 on the list is probably the best argument for actually going to film school, and it is lifelong industry connections. Now, although your teachers may be washed, a lot of your classmates could potentially be the next industry leaders. So if you carpe diem and seize the day and go out there and find those classmates that are really driven and are really good at something that you can complement, there's a great chance that later in life, way past school, that they will call you up and say, hey, I remember in school you were really good at editing. We need an editor at my production company. Would you like to come on board? So it's always great to think ahead like that and try and make those connections in film school where everyone's kind of working towards the same thing. I've had multiple opportunities through classmates of mine, which has actually gotten me gigs or long-term work. So definitely one of the more important pros of actually going to film school. Now, number 3 might sound small, but depending on who you are, the structure of film school may be very beneficial to you. So if you're not somebody who's very self-disciplined, it might be great to force yourself into the routine of film school. Since you're paying every day, you are going to get your ass out of bed at 8 a.m. or 6 a.m., whenever you have to be to get to class. And that constant schedule will really help propel you if you're not somebody who's self-driven. Take it from me, it's not easy, and you need to be extremely self-disciplined to get up and work 8 to 12 hours on your craft with nobody pressing you. And it's a little bit more easy with that $35,000 fire under your ass. You know what I'm saying? All right, and finally, number 4 on the pros list is constructive criticism. Now, a huge part of my college program was peer review and obviously teacher review. And if you're somebody like me, at first, that's super scary, taking your beloved, precious, passionate artwork that you've been working on because you're a stupid little hipster and showing it to everyone and having them absolutely tear it apart and let you know you're not nearly as good as you thought you were. So I know it sounds harsh at first, but it is a really great way to look at things critically and also see it from different points of view. It's also really helpful to learn by critiquing other people's stuff. So constructively, obviously, you're not going to say, hey, Greg, that video was shit. But you could be like, hey, Greg, I love the way you cut that video. The pacing was great, but the coloring was off. Something like that. Very simple stuff, but it does go a long way, and it becomes a practice that you get really used to. And in the real world, people aren't going to care about your precious artwork or your feelings, so you might as well get it out of the way early. Now, quick PSA about everything I touched on today. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm obviously a bit biased towards the subject, and I encourage everyone to go out and do their own research, Find out what works best for you. You know yourself better than I know you. All I know is my personal experiences, and I'm sharing that with you in hopes that it will help make your decision easier. Because again, nobody knows you like you know you. God damn it, I'm inspiring. No, in all seriousness, do not make any split decisions. Do the work. Try out the freelance stuff. Try learning on your own before you commit to that huge dent in your pocket. Honestly, take it from me. I wish, looking back, I wouldn't have went to film school, but I don't necessarily regret it because I made a lot of great friends, a lot of great connections, and I had a great time while I was there. But just be careful with your decision because it can affect the entire trajectory of your career and in turn your life, not to scare you too much. Now, I did a lot of talking today, and finally I'm gonna shut up, but before I go, do me a favor, hit that like button, leave a comment in the section below, let me know your thoughts on film school, what I had right, what I had wrong, give me some constructive criticism, some peer review if you will, and finally hit that subscribe button. I post every Thursday and sometimes more. And until next time, peace.